On today's video, let's talk about game-changing, meta-transforming reports that are either exactly that or fake news. In this video, we're going to talk about what you need to know when you see these game-changing, groundbreaking reports and whether or not there's validity behind them or someone is trying to pull a fast on you. This video will break down 4 main items that you need to know. One of them we'll dive deep into so you see exactly how influential it is, and it is the one thing most content creators don't talk about. So sit back, drop a like on the video. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. Listen, I've been getting hundreds of reports of people testing YSS, Theodora, new pairs, new changes, revolution, game-breaking reports. And 90% of them are fake news. And they're not fake news because the people are doing it as a malicious thing, but just because they don't paint the actual picture of what the numbers are on the screen. In this video, we're gonna go over what you guys need to know to keep an eye on those things and know exactly with your own eyes whether or not something is game breaking and changing or not. Before we start though, I'm a sponsored content creator by Rise of Kingdoms. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel down below and hit the bell to get a notification because we upload Rise of Kingdoms videos every single day. We stream twice a week. It's a lot of fun. We chill, we have a good time, we watch wars, we cover wars, everything along the way. What are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. 63% of you are not subscribed yet. Welcome to all new viewers. I hope to earn your subscription today. With that spiel out of the way, let's talk about battle reports. And I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. There are 4 main items in battle reports that are crucial for you to keep an eye on to guarantee that you're not getting duped. There's a lot of fake news out there. I've seen people faking reports, and it's not Photoshop faking, it's just not showing all the information, only this. This is not a good enough indication as to whether a report is good or not. If someone sends you a screenshot of this and says new big thing and you see that there's a game-changing something in there, this is not enough. The first factor that you got to know and figure out, and for that you got to be able to get a click in here, is the types of troops being used and whether or not they are the same type of troop, the same quantities, the same correct types of troops, so forth and so on. For example, Genghis Khan is one that really requires cavalry only. If I were to show you Sundok and Cleopatra beating him with sieges, and then you see he has sieges only too, then you're not really using Genghis Khan, you're just using Genghis Khan's body, right? So the first thing you always should do is you need to figure out whether the troops are the same types of troops, if they're the correct type of troops, and they're the same level of troops. If there's a little bit of delta in between them, that's not the worst thing on earth. But when you see a full tier 4 rally get destroying a full tier 3 building, or a full tier 5 rally wrecking a tier 4 defense, there are question marks to be said, especially if the same amount of troops are used. So the first and foremost, most easy point is troop types and counts need to be the same. The second one is one that you can see in here, but it's still not enough. The second one is you need to ensure that the commanders are, at least the primary one is level 60, and that they're expertise. That you can find in the troop buffs page. Very simple and straightforward. When most content creators show you reports, they go here, they show you, ooh, everything is expertise, level 60s, all that good stuff, nice setup and all that good is done and deal and closes. I do that too, by the way. I do that too. I usually don't point out some of the other things. I've been doing it lately. You guys know what it is. Drop a comment down below and let me know what's the most important point. But yeah, level 60, expertise, first commander. The second one should be expertise as well. It doesn't have to be level 60 as the talent tree is irrelevant on the second commander. And yes, point number 3 is talent tree. And that's the toughest one for you guys to get. Talent trees are kind of like a secretive thing. A lot of folks build their own talent trees, which are very optimized. They spend a lot of time and energy and gems and money on talent resets to get that extra edge. Some of these talent trees are publicly available and others remain hidden for a little while until eventually they are made public. For example, our Richard build to hold an Ark of Osiris with a Richard Julius Caesar. Caught it up on the top right if you haven't seen that video yet. The problem with talent trees is that it'll be very rare for you to get a report with its talent trees included. And that's not only of the offense, but also of the defense. And that's why it's so rare, because you're on either side. You never necessarily have access to the other side. And if you have access to the other side, what interest did they have to tell you what they're using? So talent trees are a huge question mark, and they can cause huge, significant changes. And I'll tell you why. There are talents out there in talent trees which require you to have a little bit of luck. If you're looking at talent trees, some of these have a percentage of chance of success. For example, all of these guys are enhanced additional with not a single percentage worth of a chance. But if you go up here, normal attacks have a 10% chance to grant additional rage. This is a huge problem, because if you know that a certain talent tree has something like this enabled, and now you're asking yourself, was the rally long enough? Was the defense long enough? Was there enough opportunities for this to proc? How many times did it proc? The rally reports and the battle reports as of today don't really paint enough of a picture, or a clear enough of a picture, on how many times you proc and things like that. To get that full information, you got to dig into the report. And it's super frustrating, especially if you have like a rally that's half an hour long. There's like tons of rounds in there, and you're not going to go round by round to make sure if it procced or not. So talent trees cause a huge skew of data. And that's where, theoretically, the law of large numbers would apply, where essentially the more tests of the same thing you do over and over and over and over, the standard deviation will be smaller and you'll get closer to the expected result. This is why if you want to test something, you don't do 1 or 2 or 3 tests, but you actually want to run like 10, if not more, tests of the same thing again and again to make sure that what you're getting as a result is correct, and you're not hitting a point in the standard deviation that's either way out there in your favor or way out there against you. So the talent trees are a very important factor, one that you will have probably no control over, which is why I would say a grain of salt in probably every report you receive. Point number 4, and this is the one I want to focus on the most in this video. And this is a test that I ran with my friend Wolf. Shout out to Wolf. Thank you very much for your help. We did a few tests to illustrate to you the importance of this 4th point. We already discussed this screen right here, and we already talked about the fact that you got to go in here, and then that you got to go in here too to look at the expertise commanders. No, and that's, no, don't close that window, because here lies the most important point of a rally that you have available for you to see. Talent trees are not available for you to see, but statistics really are. You can recognize whether someone has a strong or a weak rally or defense by knowing the stats. This page is much more important than just the commanders. If you guys have been watching my content for some time, we take a look at the stats. We talk about whether a rally is strong or not, and a Tel Takeda in that case, whether they stand towards the higher end of Tel Takedas or the lower end of a Tel Takedas, which is a huge standard deviation, by the way. And so to illustrate this point, Wolf and I ran 4 tests on 2 different marches with different types of statistics, different buffs, to show you the difference in the buffs and kind of to show you how it affects a change on the results that you see. So in this specific rally, and for the record, because we did this as close to a good test as we can get, Wolf was in JWM, I was not, and so those stats never changed. We fought on Alliance territory at all times, which he got buffs and I didn't, but that stays the same, so that doesn't change. In the first test, Genghis Khan was naked. Yeah, you guys don't want to see this man naked. But he was naked, and he went up against my Sindok and Cleopatra, and this was the test for the whole duration. In here, if we look at the troop buffs really quickly, he had 173 cavalry attack, 94 cavalry defense, and 65 cavalry health. These are full tier 1 cavalries, 10,000 to 10,000. He was also rocking absolutely nothing, okay? We went with 587 severely wounded on his side compared to my 3.773 severely wounded, okay? This is the first test that we did. And then we go to the next test. In this next test, what I asked Wolf is keep building up your stats slowly and steadily. And this time, Genghis Khan put his helmet on and an armor. He was still moving pantless though. Genghis Khan pantless is definitely not a good look right there, but we'll take care of that momentarily. And if you go take a look at the second report, and I have all the numbers written down so you guys can know the differences. I honestly don't have the time to put the two reports right next to each other in post, so I apologize for that, but bear with me. In this test, if we go to the troop buffs, which, for the record, we're not going to fake news you, or as my friend Mark likes to say, we're not going to CNN you. I don't, for the record, that's a joke of his. It's none of my opinions in there. Tier 1s, 10K, Tier 1s, 10K, the same exact test that was ran. In here, if we look at the troop buffs, mine haven't changed from the previous test, and he's now rocking 173.5 cavalry attack, which is the same, but he's rocking 99.5% cavalry defense, an increase of 5.5% on this stat, and 68% health, which is an increase of 3% in that stat, for a nice little increase of what? That's 8.5% worth of stats. And the numbers speak for themselves. He dropped by almost 90 severely wounded, which in this case is like almost 20%. I dropped about 10%-ish on myself. He did beat me, however, and we didn't look at another parameter, which is an important one, but I didn't want to go too deep into this, which is the time the fight happened, because if Genghis Khan has any chance of skill in his alliance and his talent trees, then the longer the fight is, the more likely he is to get that chance and to get better results. So this is another important small factor, but it's a little bit of a rough one to keep up with. So in this test, an increase of stats actually meant he lost a lot less troops, and so did I, but I did get defeated, and the decrease by him was much bigger than the decrease by me in the severely wounded department, and so that's how it went. 8.5 remaining on this test compared to the, let's go take a look, 9.4 remaining on this test too. So he increased in his slightly wounded quite a bit. If we go to the third test, now Genghis Khan was well equipped. This is a very good cavalry set and all nice and special talented. Very jealous of that indeed. And now Genghis Khan is firing on all cylinders. His number of severely wounded actually went up, but the amount of survivors remained very much higher. I went way up on the severely wounded. I went up a huge amount, actually. That's the highest I've gotten so far. Again, our test right here showing you these numbers. And now the stats moved up quite a bit. A 13.5% increase in that cavalry attack, 186.5. A 12% increase from the beginning in the defense department, we're at 106, and 79% cavalry health compared to the 65 in the beginning. This is a 38.5% increase. Look at the difference. The difference here is massive. The difference here is that he's doing more damage to me. He's definitely taking a little bit less severely wounded, which he did take more on the first test. And you can clearly see the huge difference in stats versus the lower end to the higher end of all of this thing. Finally, I believe we have one more test where I think that cavalry health went up even further. And this one's a really cool one because here we have 519 severely wounded and 3,856 for me. But on his final test, where he had cavalry health up to another 5%, he actually maintained the severely wounded at a little bit less, 511 against the 519 previously, but he hit me for another 10%. That's right, his troops buffs are now 186.5 like it was before, 0.5 increase actually, apparently. Or I didn't write that down, but that's okay. 106 on the defense and 5% more on the cavalry health, 79%. Remember that health video I made, card up on the top right if you haven't seen that one before? There you go. Here's another small example of what happens with more health. More troops last, more damage you do, less severely and slightly wounded troops. I want to illustrate this final point very briefly in one more set of tests. We had one more in here. Which one was this? 505, 340, and now we went way down. This is the lowest stats he could go to. This is without anything whatsoever. The base of the base, 10% less on the cavalry attack because he took off the skin, I believe. The lowest possible defense he has, the lowest possible everything. He's down to nothing. I believe this is not he doesn't have a different skin. He has a skin that decreases health. He has the Osiris Invitational skin, which decreases the attack by 10%. So he has minus 10% cavalry attack because of the Osiris Invitational skin in here. And you can see a difference, a very cool difference. He does have the severely wounded where they a little bit down from the first test, down from 505. The first one was 587. But he also decreased on the amount of damage he did to me and in the remaining troops. Overall, the whole point of this was to illustrate to you the difference that stats make. And so, how can you know whether the stats you're looking at are good or bad? We also have Wolf's talent tree in here, and we also have all of his, every time he took off a skin, he also showed it to me. He took off all the things in here and he switched to this skin on the last test that we saw. Previously, he was running this skin right here, and he had that equipment. You can see all these screenshots. We took all the data to guarantee that we have the best possible outcome. This is a neutral skin compared to the 5% skin here, which was his top primary test. Let's go take a quick peek at one more set of tests that we did. This was a little bit rougher with tier 4s. This was the top end situation of his Ramses, which is a really, really nice Ramses right there. If we look at the quick battle report, he was using the best possible skin he had for this and all that good stuff. And at this stage, he's doing some damage. He's at 414 severely wounded to my 3.393. And his buffs are at like 132, 112, 80. And then as we start going down, you'll notice that the numbers change. Crazy, right? It's almost like that's exactly what we're testing. This is, I believe, without half of his, without any of his equipment whatsoever, with a different skin altogether, and then bam, look at the difference. He has 538 severely wounded, up from 414, and I'm up to from 3,393 only to 3,680. So he went up a decent amount more than I did, and that's reflected due to his stats, which dropped from 132.5 to 114.5 cavalry attack, from 112 archers. We're talking archers. Wow, 132.5 archer attack to 119 archer attack, a drop of like 13%, 12%, 13%. From 112 archer defense, he went down to 102.5. From 80% archer health, he went down to 67%. I didn't change a single thing throughout time. And this time we were trying tier 4s against tier 4s. And he had his Janissaries, that means a little more stats and so forth and so on. I'm going to keep going through these tests really quickly for you guys to see them on the screen. And show you guys all the differences between them and all that good stuff, just so you know what you're looking at. This is a halfway set with a non-existing skin, and you can see the difference in here. He went back down in his severely wounded. I went down a little bit compared to what he did in percentage-wise. He survived much longer, and his stats are completely different again. 132.5 back on the attack, 102 on the defense. That remained the same. 70% on the health, brought his health up a little bit. That was a substantial change right there to see a change in the stats. And if we go take a quick peek again, because I'm starting to bore you guys with the numbers, our final test was again fully YOLO'd, soloed March. We saw this. We wanted to see that. This is without a skin or anything like that. We're looking at 542. 2.54, the lowest number we've seen all tests long. And he's actually down quite a bit on his stats. 132, 112, which are the standard, but this was at 75. That's a 5% decrease. This is a fantastic example of a test that I believe on the big standard deviation went way in my favor than in his If we do this test 2 or 3 more times, we'll see that this result is actually going much more this way than it did before. So this was a bit of a long video, but the whole point of it was to get you guys to understand one important thing. When someone tells you, look at this game-changing thing, you should be able to look at this and figure out whether it's fake news or not. How can you know whether what you're seeing is good or not? Go to your alliance mate, the strongest rally leader you guys have. Ask him or her if he could, please, very kindly, with his best pair, which is the pair that you're looking here. So if you take a Ramses Yi Song-Ye, and you say, I want to see Ramses Yi Song-Ye at their best. Can you please hit the barbarian for me and share the report? I want to see your stats. You can hit a barbarian and you'll see that your alliance's best stats, and then you can compare them from there on out with any report you see. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. I figured I should share this with you guys to ensure that you're not misguided into investing into any commander without seeing proper results, because it's very easy to fake them. It's super simple to take all the equipment off and put a terrible talent set just to say there's a talent set, and then all of a sudden you're expertising a commander that was never meant to be. I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a good one. Peace.